And I don't think I could say I was pulled into physical product development as such. I was pulled into the idea of the product. So Josh, my co-founder, and I were working on another business, and he nearly had an accident while riding a hire bike, and was coming to meet me just after that incident. And I was riding a regular bike with a rucksack on my back, as many people do, and I had a helmet dangling off the back of it, again, as many people do. So his point was we could solve the problem that he had just encountered by being on a Santander bike in central London and feeling a bit spooked by the experience, and my couldn't fit my helmet into my bag like lots of people's.
Welcome to Why Design. I'm Chris White, and this podcast is about the people behind products shaping our world. Every week I sit down with design and engineering leaders who've turned ideas into real-world impact. We break down how they lead, how they learn from failure, and how they build teams that keep moving forward. Because great design isn't just about what looks good, it's about people, culture, and progress. If you care about building better products, leading stronger teams, or rediscovering the purpose behind your work, you're in the right place. Let's get into it. Dom, welcome to Why Design. Thank you for being on the show.
Pleasure to be here. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, likewise. It's been so we've spoken a couple of times now. We met up at Eurobike as well a few weeks ago, so it's great to see you after that. So Dom, you're co-founder and CEO of Newlane, a London-based startup creating sustainable, packable helmets for the urban mobility space. You've had a really varied career, it's safe to say, from presenting sports on the BBC to leading national campaigns for social change, and now building a hardware business from scratch. So today we're going to explore your journey into design and product development, dig into the mission behind Newlane and the challenges of launching safety-critical consumer tech when you're not from a traditional hardware background. Mm-hmm. So, how's that for? That's you.
A lovely summary of my wiggly career, my career that's gone all over the place. I've got friends from the BBC who still don't understand how or why I'm making a bike helmet, and I think I can empathise or sympathise with their confusion. But yeah, that summarises where I've gone so far, definitely.
Awesome, bro. Well, in terms of the kind of things we're going to dive into, we'll talk a little bit about Eurobike, but we'll get into your journey as well, your wiggly journey, as you say, from transitioning from media and communications into physical product development and innovation, the 7-year journey behind Newlane's foldable helmet, what it takes to bring a hardware product to market when you don't have a design background, the challenge of standing out in a crowded micro-mobility market, and some of your learnings from the startup space, from compliance to manufacturing, partnerships and fundraising. We're going to dive into storytelling, persistence and communication, why they matter in early stage hardware. Just to end, try and weave in some advice for anyone trying to enter the market that is maybe kind of not from a design or engineering background, maybe inspire some of your ex-BBC colleagues. But we'll just dive in then. So I usually ask at this stage, why design? But it's not your usual start in design, really, is it? Kind of with yourself, kind of starting in journalism and spending over a decade at the BBC. What pulled you into physical product development?
Well, it's a really good question, and I don't think I could say I was pulled into physical product development as such. I was pulled into the idea of the product. So Josh, my co-founder, and I were working on another business, and he nearly had an accident while riding a hire bike, and was coming to meet me just after that incident. And I was riding a regular bike with a rucksack on my back, as many people do, and I had a helmet dangling off the back of it, again, as many people do. So his point was we can solve the problem that he had just encountered by being on a Santander bike in central London and feeling a bit spooked by the experience, and couldn't fit my helmet into my bag like lots of people. So he basically said, can we create a product which will solve both the problem he's encountered and my problem? So I was like, interesting. It must be true that at that point in my career, I was looking for something new to do. I think it's also safe to say that I have a growth mindset, open mind, whatever you want to call it, because at that point, having no product experience, I still believe that we could do it. I think if I had known then what I know now, I might have made a different decision. But, in many ways, and this isn't true of just products, this is true of all kinds of innovation, startup, whatever you want to call it, is if you are open to the possibilities rather than closed, so have a novice's mindset rather than expert mindset, the parameters aren't there because you simply don't know. I mean, I would, to sort of add on to that, I've been a sort of journalist or in communications for most of my working life. I have absolutely adored and loved learning about the physical product process. I mean, I've learned from zero, but it makes me conscious of the fact that every single thing around us, is made. The physical products have to be produced in some way, shape, or form to exist. And I think it struck me quite quickly how few people know about the design and manufacturing process. So I arrived as an absolute novice, and even through the trials and tribulations of fundraising and paying my bills and all the rest of it, I love the hard process of part of our product is produced by a large piece of steel and all this, the kind of mechanics of it. I'm certainly not, even after 7 years, a kind of engineer as such, but I work with people who are. And within our small business, I am the lead, internally anyway, on the engineering and manufacturing side of things. And I think my dad was a scientist, he's got a PhD in chemistry. And I used to wonder where that particular gene had gone, because my brother's a musician and I've been in communications, like, where did that go? But I think it appears that there is a bit of that in me. I'm a long way from being an engineer, design engineer, or even a designer, but there are things about the process that really appeal to me, and I have more of that than I realized. So, yeah, a long way from journalism, a long way from communications, fundraising, and all that for the charities that I work for. But quite quickly, I realized it was something that floated my boat. But what we have chosen to do, the challenge we've sought to overcome, has been, I think, especially tough. A variation on a safety critical and a safety certified product is pretty hard, and that's why it took us so long to get to market.
Yeah, especially if, like, say, you're starting from zero and you're having to upskill every day and ask questions. But I'm guessing your background is quite helpful in that respect. Being a journalist, asking questions, being curious, fact finding, going out and research.
Absolutely,
they're all skills that transfer quite nicely.
Yeah, I think so. I think you're right. It's fair. There's more about what I've done that is relevant, but there was an awful lot to learn. But I guess my view is that learning is what life's all about. I mean, then it sounds a bit cheesy, but I think that's definitely kept me going. I've enjoyed the learning. So long as I know that I can pay the bills, the learning really has been the most exciting thing.
Absolutely, yeah. That's great. And yeah, just looking at your career to date and where you've been, where you've been involved in, and where you're going. You showed me a preview of the advert that you've got going live soon. Before we started recording, it's clear to me actually the position you're in now as well. Not only have you're learning about product development, but that storytelling skill set, that communication skill set that you've built up over the years, that's going to be really helpful when it comes to launching a product, because no good having a great product if no one knows about it and if you can't communicate the features and benefits.
Absolutely, and Josh, my co-founder, is a kind of has become, in the same way that I've become a product specialist, he's become a marketing or digital marketing specialist, and together we can tell a good story, and it is absolutely essential. And I think the other thing that has kept us sane and kept us going is that the micromobility sort of tailwinds are very strong. So the cycling sector may have encountered lots of really significant challenges post-COVID for reasons that probably we don't need to go into, but a lot of people struggled in the cycling sector. But all the while we've been toiling away trying to turn an idea into a real thing and then get it certified and start selling it. The wins behind micromobility, and for those listening or watching who don't know what that is, it's bikes, scooters and e-bikes essentially, and how they are becoming a much more common sight in towns and cities around the world. So we've always had that in the back of our heads. Our product is designed specifically for people who get on a bike, e-bike or scooter to go from A to B in a town or city. There are tens of millions of people who are choosing to do that now from here to Australia and back, and our product plays to that market. So it's really helped us to feel like we're making a decision which is a tough one, but it's a good decision if we get there, and we've already proved, we've only been in the market for 7 or 8 months, but it's already quite clear that our hunch that this is a product that there are a very healthy number of consumers for It's true. It's proving to be true. Now, not everyone thinks it's the perfect product, but a lot of people think it's absolutely ideal for their needs.
Absolutely, yeah. And you don't need to be the perfect product to everyone. You need to be the perfect product to a few people, enough of the market.
Yeah.
And having that there is competition, but that's healthy because it keeps you on your toes, keeps you
Yeah,
innovating.
yeah. I mean, the market, I guess the truth is, Chris, on that, the market into which we are going is growing and growing exponentially. 17.5% is the compound annual growth rate projection by all the big and analyzers of this stuff, the Deloittes and the McKinseys of the world. They all go, by the way, globally, mobility is going gangbusters and there's nothing anyone can do to stop it, nor should they. But and our view is that that's good. We have created a product which is about convenience and keeping you safe. So
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
is why we've managed to keep going, why we've managed to gather best part of £2 million of investment to get the product into the market. Which is
It's fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah.
You sold, what was it, over 5,000
We're approaching
units?
5,000 now.
Yeah.
We have 2 more orders, lots of helmets ordered. Parts of it come from China. Most of it is made and injection molded in the West Midlands in Birmingham with a company called Cameron Price. We have another 6,400 on order, and we will go and sell all of those hopefully by the end of the year and introduce product range, variations.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. We're working with a company many people who ride a bike will know of called MIPS, Multi-Directional Impact Protection System, which has a little yellow dot for those who are watching. There's a little yellow dot, and it will become the first folding product of any kind to integrate their system, which is a pretty significant differentiator for us. So
yeah, they've got pretty high standards, haven't they, or requirements for companies to use their products.
Yeah, they're very clever. They're a good business, and they've created a great business model, which is making them a very successful organisation.
Fantastic. Well, let's talk about Eurobike then, because obviously we caught up whilst we were both in Frankfurt, and we were just saying before we started recording, I went to Leaders Night on the Tuesday. They talked about kind of the state of the industry, and your research kind of it aligns with what they were saying as well. Whilst there's a lot of doom and gloom from the kind of the investment piece, actually the amount of riders, people choosing to ride bikes or scooters, every day is increasing, and that's set to just carry on increasing. So there's a big opportunity there. It's a bit harder to come by from an investment, from a capital point of view. But I think what you're saying about the micromobility piece as well, they were talking about splitting off into mobby futures. So it's all about micromobility, and then having Eurobike as a separate. So I think there's definitely a play there to feed into that, or to attract more into that space. So it'd be quite interesting to see how that pans out next year. We were talking as well about the lack of innovation. That's certainly my sense when walking around the stands this year, is that there's much of the same. And really, when you think about bike frames and traditional bike manufacturing, there isn't a lot of true innovation going on.
Yeah, I'd agree. Yeah, I mean, my observation is that I kind of think I'm a newbie anymore, but I mean, certainly going to big trade shows, some people have been going for decades, and they're a very established way of doing things. I walked and talked with many people, had lots of meetings set up with all kinds of businesses, big and small. And it did strike me that this notion around innovation, and everyone wants to be able to say they're innovators, because why wouldn't you? Because it sounds good and it's all that. Is that there are a lot of businesses, and it does make sense in many ways for businesses that are still licking their wounds after the kind of misery of COVID. And again, for those who aren't necessarily aware of this, what happened in and around COVID for the cycling industry was a lot of kind of purveyors of cycling products, be they suppliers, manufacturers, or retailers, all overstocked, because during COVID everyone wanted a bike. Everyone was riding bikes because they had to. I'm really talking predominantly about Europe, but it probably applies to North America and the Far East as well. But if we talk about Europe to start with, and then what happened is the supply chains were slow during COVID. So these guys ordered more, and then they overstocked. COVID ended, and no one wanted bike stuff anymore because they'd already bought it.
Yeah.
So there was some kind of, dare I say it, short-sightedness on the part of some of the suppliers, manufacturers, and retailers, and that has meant that you go into a bike shop, as we have done since COVID, with a new product, and people are like, that's cool, that's interesting, but we're not taking any chances at the moment, so no thanks. Which is understandable. Again, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. So there's the kind of taking a chance innovation that a retailer might have, and there's the producing a new thing which a manufacturer might have, and they don't want to. And I think it's probably always been true of the big legacy businesses in any sector, where they go, we're okay, thanks. We have a tried and tested model. It does us well. We'll maybe pay lip service to innovation, but not do very much of it. And perhaps on the odd occasion acquire someone who's doing it. And I guess that's always been the model, isn't it? Big business buys innovators because they can, because the innovators have to try. But, it was interesting to me that every other meeting was fantastic. This is an amazing product. Let's talk more. Let's set up a call. And we have several of those done. And one or two other businesses would go, thanks, but no thanks. You're taking a chance and you're asking us to rip up our long-standing and very successful playbook by turning a three-quarter sphere into a frisbee, which is essentially what our product does. Why would we do that? Is the market big enough? Maybe that's a fair question, because the market is growing, as we've just said, but unproven. So there are lots of reasons I kind of get it, but we will. And it's funny, I was digging around to prove my point, which is what we all do, don't we? And post something on LinkedIn, and I was digging around in relation to Brompton. Now, when Brompton launched in 1975, 50 years ago, a folding bike, for those of you who don't, but I suspect most listeners here will be well aware of Brompton. So it's a kind of an icon in the sense of mobility and design. When it launched, people would ask exactly the same. Why would anyone need that? What do you want a folding bike for? Weird little wheels, fit up and beg sort of style. And I think Andrew Ritchie's, the designer of that product, wasn't trying to design with convention in mind. Quite the reverse. He was trying to do something different. And you probably should expect the kind of long-standing legacy businesses and the established sort of way of doing things, and you expect some pushback. But I think it's a really interesting one. Innovation is about trying things very differently, and actually having the novice's mindset that I talked about at the beginning has helped me do that. I don't know that cavity tools that are sphere shaped doesn't bother me. We start from a blank sheet of paper and a completely clean canvas. So I think it's really interesting, the kind of innovation space in any sector, but cycling has probably good cause to be a bit more wary. So in many ways, while I went to Eurobike, and the clue is in the name, I would, if they do split as they're going to, I will go to Mobby Futures, not Eurobike, next time, because that's where they see the new dawn rather than the old.
Yeah, absolutely. Really, really interesting take. And I guess one of the advantages of being a startup, for one, but also please excuse the language here, but a naive startup founder in a lot of ways.
I am absolutely take that. Naive is definitely, certainly was, and in many ways still is. I think naive, I think I'd call it novice's mindset, and I've read about this. Novice's mindset, it doesn't sound good. The expert's mindset does, but I read about the experts have these very narrow parameters. You will not be able to make a two-part helmet pass the EN 1078 safety test because, and roll off a ream of reasons why that's not possible. That's what an expert helmet developer would have said before we made it safe, I suspect. So.
Yeah, your expert mindset is that this is how we do it, or you can't do it any other than these prescribed ways. Whereas your novice will be like, well, why? Why can't we do it?
What's stopping it? Honest to God,
if you're serious about growing in design or engineering, you should join the Why Design community on Discord. It's where product leaders share real lessons, job opportunities, and behind-the-scenes insights you won't find anywhere else. And if you want more stories and strategies from the world of product development, subscribe to the Why Design newsletter. Both links are in the show notes, so go check them out.
We used to walk around central London when we were scratching our heads. When I say we, I mean me and my co-founder. And we were running out of money. And we used to walk around London. We used to look up, and you'd be walking in central London. You'd look at the Shard, and you'd go, that building is however many stories high. It is a feat of engineering genius, and there it is, and no one died making it. At least I don't think they did. And it's incredible. Or beyond that, they put men on the moon. Surely, that's how the kind of entrepreneur brain goes,
Yeah.
why can't we do it? And it did come quite close to us not being able to do it because we nearly ran out of money, like I say. But the money thing aside, and we managed to scramble over the line just about, and then we raised some more money because we'd done it.
When you say it like that, it's like, well, yeah, we've put people on the moon.
It feels like anything should be possible, but
yeah. Well, it seems harder to do it today than it did kind of 60 years ago.
And you have got to try always to raise. I'm confident in saying that is commonplace. So we have sought, certainly at the beginning, very early stage before we designed the product, we sought to speak to people who might use it and doing some human-centered design rather than just having a harebrained scheme and going, yeah, let's make it when we think we would want it. So we did some of that. We did working with the designers we've had involved. They went and we got a small grant from Innovate UK in 2018-19 and did some consumer work with potential consumers, people who might buy the product, committed bike riders, some sort of infrequent bike riders and some non-bike riders, and go, look, if there was a folding product, would you use it? They all went, yes, if it was safety certified. And then they said, if the folded shape of the product, when it's, in its packed state, is a convenient state to put into the bags. Hence the sort of profile that we've come up with the product, which is this sort of relatively flat, kind of frisbee that can go into a bag next to a laptop. So
I think now might be a great time if you're able to share that.
Yeah.
So for anyone listening, now's the time to jump onto YouTube and watch.
Okay, this is an advert we've had created with a very famous. Anyway, the background behind the advert is probably not the point, but this showcases the product in a out there sort of way. A guy called Tony Davidson made it, and he's quite well known in the advertising space. He did it at a very cut price, I think, partly because he's sort of coming out of retirement. Anyway, and it showcases the product, and the campaign is called Plenty of Space, and that's kind of obvious when you see it. And the point being that we have created more space for your bag by having a space-saving helmet. I'll play the advert.
I love it. Yeah. So, I absolutely love that. For anyone just listening and not watching, so that it's essentially it's floating out in space. It shows the helmet going from fully assembled, unclipped, and then flipped around to its packable state, and then just slides nicely, docks into the backpack.
You got it.
And then floats away. It's great.
It's a tribute to 2001: Space Odyssey, which is clearly a film that this guy Tony loves. Yeah. And it's a film that I don't know if everyone's seen it, but certainly a lot of people have. And there is a sequence in it which uses the same music, which has the I think it's called the Space Dance. Basically, it has the various space stations and things that are floating in space, dancing effectively to the music, and it's a tribute to that. I mean, it's honestly, this is so interesting because we've done to this point. We've been all about functional advertising. Okay, we want to make it nice. We're trying to build a brand and all the rest of it. And I think we've done a good job of that. Our website is very clean and clear and all the rest of it. Lots of very kind of on-the-nose messaging. Consumer people who commute would want a product they can put into the bag for obvious reasons. And it's been about function. The product folds. You can therefore use it to put in your bag when you go from A to B. And this is an extension of that, and maybe we've gone earlier than we might otherwise have done because we've got the opportunity to. We've got a cheap deal on some advertising around the Tour de France on ITV4 because they support startups. So they do a deal which is through part of ITV called ITV Ventures, and they give you a cheap deal. Partly also because TV advertising is harder to sell than it ever was because of obvious reasons. And then our agency who help us with our digital marketing found Tony and know Tony and said he wants to get back in. He loves your product. He's got an idea. And from there, it's and all of a sudden we've got an advert, which in the old days would have cost, God knows, we've been quoted £250,000 to make that. I don't know. Yeah. It's a very high end piece of content that's going on a main TV channel around a bike race. And that is, again, it's that sort of entrepreneurial spirit that we've continued with. And you said it, we've learned about making things. We've always had, me and Josh, I'm talking about when I say we, had this storytelling capacity, sales and communications. And so ultimately this very much plays into our hands. But having said all that, when we first heard the idea, I was like, that's mental. What's he on about? We functional advertising is showing someone getting off a line bike, folding a helmet, putting it in a bag and going to their office. That's the kind of, but this is an extension to what I think marketeers would call emotional advertising. And it's what all big and successful brands, if they have the money, would do. So I think it's a very cool piece of content. It looks good. It will hopefully get people interested in finding and buying our product. But it also is a very clear statement of intent. We don't just want to be, it's about our aspirations around growth and around, building this, making the folding helmet, preferably ours, widely understood product, just in the same way that Brompton has made the folding bike. It's taken them 50 years. I hope it doesn't take me. I'll be dead before then, but it'll take 50 years. But, they have turned their product into a sort of curiosity, a kind of niche thing, into for hundreds of thousands of people an everyday sort of essential.
Yeah.
And I think that's really what we hope to get to. And the truth is, to do that, we'll probably need some help. And that's kind of where we are now. That's partly why I went to Eurobike, was to find some partners.
It's fantastic. Yeah, and you talk about kind of Brompton, and when you walk around a lot of the stands, the folding bike companies now, it's difficult to find one that clearly hasn't been inspired by Brompton. Some of them look like they've just got a different badge on in some respects.
Well, their patent has expired, as it happens.
Yeah.
You probably know that, but their patent's only just expired, and therefore there are literally bikes that are doing everything the same. I don't think they can use their name, but there is, in fact. So I know quite a few people at Brompton now. One of them showed me a bike. Yeah. And he went, look, this is going on in, dare I say it, China. And it's literally nuts and bolts, the same piece of equipment, which is a challenge, I suspect, for them.
Yeah, very challenging. One of the things, I guess, when you start a brand, you're not thinking 50 years in the future when your IP runs out. But really interesting. So, in terms of the marketing, obviously, we segue nicely into that. Usually, at this point, we talk about kind of lessons to share with other hardware founders. But I think because of your background, your media connections, and kind of that, that advert is fantastic. It really kind of ties into, like you say, ties into the emotions. What advice would you give other hardware founders, whether it's micromobility, consumer goods, medtech, whatever it might be, where that you can pull from your time in industry, your media connections, and how to tell a story? If we're talking maybe to more of a techie kind of engineering kind of founder, like a co-founder and CTO, let's say, that's not particularly well versed in storytelling, is there any advice you would give them? Where would they start to get their story out there?
That's a really good question. And yeah, we did it back to front, and that's a very good observation. I think, if it doesn't come naturally, the truth is, I didn't design this helmet. I've done my hands have been on it a lot, and I've had lots of, but in the same way that I'm about to suggest, that if you're a techie engineer, make sure you have either in your internal team or certainly very close to it, someone who can help you tell the story, because that's what we had to do when designing this product. We've used 4 designers, we've used all sorts of industrial people, we've used manufacturing partners. So, and we've got it wrong, or we've made missteps along the way, lots of missteps, let's put it like that. So I don't want to give the impression that this was an easy journey, because it's taken a long time and we've made lots of mistakes. Definitely true. But I think if you're saying that the people listening to this might be the other way around, get ready. If you think you can make the product, well, first of all, make sure that it's a product that people want. I think that's also, again, I have heard that engineers, or anyone, I suppose, but particularly true if you love the process and you get your hands and you fall into the product, you've got to make sure that when you test that as many times as you can along the way, but make sure that by the time you are ready to launch it, you have had, in advance of that launch date, someone lined up who can become, if you don't want to do it or aren't inclined to do it, become the sort of storyteller on your behalf. I think that's really important. Just like we've had designers who have been our designers while we've been waiting to tell the story. Because it is absolutely true, and I don't wish this to be the case. If you have the best product in the world, but no marketing now, no story around it, and no budget also to spend on marketing, which is another thing which people are surprised by because it's expensive. Well done making the product, but you're not going to sell any. And while I wish this wasn't true, if you have a poor product but a good marketing campaign and kind of resource, you can sell some. I think you'll get found out ultimately, but you can still sell more than you could do if you had a great product with no marketing. So again, it sounds pretty facile to say it, but the marketing bit is the story / marketing bit is more important than the product. I mean, there are examples where word of mouth, organic marketing will run for you, will work for you, but you have to start the flywheel with real intention, and you have to make a good amount of noise in advance of the launch, and be confident about it. And we certainly are now. I mean, we've always been confident about it, at least outwardly. There have been moments of, is this the right thing? Are people going to buy it? I kept that quiet and kept it to myself, and so it's proved that we have a product that people want.
Yeah.
I would advise people to get if you don't want to do it yourself, find someone and bring them in. It may be a cliche, but I think the kind of design engineer community might be slightly suspicious of the snake oil that is marketing, digital marketing particularly, because there is a lot of opportunities to burn through money and misspend. And again, we have not made many, but we've made a few missteps even in that area, because it's quite complicated now finding a consumer, particularly if you choose to do it on. You have the autonomy using e-commerce, but you don't have. It's not easy, and you do always need a specialist to help you with that.
I guess you could spend a lot of money on social platforms, and like with anything, if you're pointed like a degree out from, you're going to end up kind of in a completely different ballpark, aren't you? So, interesting. So you obviously you've had a few deals. You've got some good contacts, but has there been an overarching strategy for building the brand kind of with limited resources, like up until the point where you had the advert made?
That's a good question. I mean, we have done a lot of work on brand and renamed the thing and played with that. I think, and actually, low level at the moment, we're beginning to find an audience and people know us a bit. And our social media has been very effective. One of the key decisions we made in advance of launching was to hire a head of content. Again, that's the sort of thing that perhaps it may not be obvious. But of course, in 2025, content is everything. So you have to have a machine or a mechanism for making, as well as making helmets. We've got to make films about helmets or pieces of content about helmets. So we've taken that quite seriously. And our Instagram and TikTok, love them or hate them, you've got to play the game. And we have done that. And our views are, for a small folding helmet company, views are way above what they should be, at least compared to when we talk about our peers. So that we've taken very seriously. So I think building awareness and being relatively polished when people find your website, those kind of basic hygiene factors. But building awareness is something we've taken very seriously. And I think it's the only way to, and you can do it, we've got a guy who's used to work on YouTube, and he's a very switched on young guy who can make all sorts of things. So he can cover, emails and, because the marketing through email, the marketing through social media is really important, and Frank can do everything. So, but Josh and I go out onto the streets as founders. We go and talk to people who might want our product. We go to railway stations and say, have you seen this? Have you seen folding helmets? And we show them the product, we film it, we put it up there. Some of them love it, some of them don't want to talk to us. Some of them we leave them alone. But if we talk to enough people, and we share that on a bi-weekly basis, and it really helps. A couple of films we've got in excess of 1 million views, which, again, doesn't mean we get 1 million sales, but we build profile. So
I remember.
It's really powerful, and certainly for me and Josh as sort of communicators or people who don't mind standing in front of a camera, it makes it easy. I don't mind talking to people. I'll talk to anyone, particularly when it comes to the product. We we're using that to our advantage, but I would say that that's really important. And some of it you can do with just a bit of upfront standing around. But it does cost money. We spent, again, for our business, in the month of November, Black Friday month last year, we spent nearly 30 grand on digital marketing for a business that, that's quite a significant sum of money. That's a lot of helmets but we had to, and it paid dividends. We sold more helmets than we'd ever sold before because of the money and all the rest of it. So yeah,
but you've got to build up to that point, haven't you, of kind of figuring out a flow and then having that confidence to put down that kind of money. I can't imagine the feeling you had in your stomach when you pressed pay or kind of accept the terms or whatever it was. I wanted to pause a moment to talk about Kodu, the specialist recruitment partner for physical product teams. When founders outgrow their early team and need engineers who can scale hardware, that's where we step in. When design consultancies win more projects than their teams can handle, we help them find senior designers who deliver without losing creative quality. And when established brands push into new hardware categories, we bring in leaders who've built category-defining products before. If you're hiring or planning your next move in product design or engineering, head over to teamkodu.com or connect with me, Chris White, on LinkedIn.
That's a good point. I mean, it is definitely expensive. It definitely is. It is it's complicated. I mean, you've got to know that it's the right thing to do. But of course, there's so much, and there's lots of risks you take. With doing something new, and there's, you've got to be comfortable with the risks, or you've got to work out a way that those risks don't get your house repossessed or something.
Absolutely. So you mentioned that obviously it's been a bumpy ride. I'm conscious I've accidentally tripped over a few cycling puns during this interview, but
I'm not
going to apologise for them. But perhaps you could, give us some insight into some of the biggest surprises or challenges you faced building Newlane.
I think we didn't know it would take so long. I think that's kind of self-evident. I had no idea how long it would take, and I am told that hardware is hard, literally, because the kind of correction loop, or at least the design loop, can be long, even for a relatively small product like ours. Because of the safety tests. I didn't know that you can only certify a helmet once you've built the tools of which the mass production version will be produced. So you have to have a set of production tools. You can't build a tool, which kind of silicon tool or a prototype tool, and get the certification. You need to have the steel tools off which you will be producing the commercial version. So that's hard.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's because you can't certify unless they know that that's the same product that they're going to be selling to punters. So there was a particular quirk of the safety product. And we built our tools too early, because what we didn't know was how far away we were from having a product that would be sellable, would be past the test. So we spent 6-figure sum on a set of tools. We have 12 tools in all, one in China, which does the expanded polystyrene, the foam bit, and another 11 in Birmingham, which produced the injection molded parts. And we didn't know. So we built them thinking we were quite close. This was probably in 2021, had our first set of tools built. And then the modifications that followed, I can only guess because there's too many I haven't got a rundown. Every small tweak to every small part needed to go through a correction loop. And it cost money. Once we had the tools shipped back from China to our factory in Birmingham, the modification process was expensive and slow. Yeah. So you go, on our helmet, we've got more parts. We've got 30 parts of this helmet, not sort of 6 or 8. And every time a part fails, you wonder why. You look at it and you assess why that part has failed based on the tests. And the tests are pretty sort of in depth and robust. They drop a helmet onto anvils. Some of them are flat and some of them are curbstone. They heat the helmet up to plus 50. They cool one down to minus 20. They put one in a UV chamber to artificially age it, and then they test it. And each time they test it and it fails, you're like, well, why did it fail? We quite quickly worked out that there were some clear failure areas. But as anyone listening to this who makes products will know, is you can fix a product in one part, and you may have fixed it in that part, but the The knock-on
Yeah.
consequence, I mean, it goes somewhere else. The force is pushed to the next weak space and so on. So we chased the problems around the helmet. So it took a really long time to do that. So I would say that the biggest challenges we faced were tooling too early. We would have, in hindsight, even though what I said is true about certification, we would have gone much further down the prototype route and made which was much closer to this before pressing go on the tools.
Yeah.
So I think I didn't know that. I mean, that's definitely been the challenge that probably did come out of our novices mindset.
Were you not given any? You weren't given any advice on that? When you were having these tools made, perhaps you should kind of work prototypes first. It seems
we did have a prototype. We had several prototypes, but I think we were under the impression, because you can build a test rig, I suppose, but testing is about going to a sort of an independent test house where they can smash it around, but they don't tell you why it failed. They just say it failed and give you the report, and you have to make it. Because they're not supposed to, because they're not trying to help you. They're trying to, and testing and certification is, I think, understandably impartial and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
You go back and make it pass, which is what we ended up having to do. But I think that's probably where. One other thing that we maybe misstepped on, making helmets, and we did it in the UK. Most helmets are produced. It won't surprise people to hear that 90% are made in the Far East. There is, I think, one other bike helmet producer in this country who make it, and they make it in Cornwall. There are no helmet manufacturers really to speak of in the country. So I think ideally we would have worked with a helmet specialist. And there were people that were the odd sort of helmet design engineer. There's not lots of people who've done it. So we work with, and again, this probably is a function of where we are, our novice, our newness to the whole thing, is that you go, oh, we need a designer. No, we don't. We need a design engineer. No, we don't. And we need someone who's going to design for manufacture and assembly, not just make a product that you can't then build at scale. So, I mean, the add-on to that would be we probably need a design engineer who knows about manufacturing and assembly and is in helmets or at least safety products. But, so we blundered and stumbled and kind of found people. Our networking capacity has definitely been helpful. Someone said to me, and I think I might have told you this at Eurobike, but it's quite a kind of helpful story around the journey. The day before we passed the test, which was the 18th of December 2023, we had an expensive idea, which we'd actually spent £1 million, £1 million plus on. And before we passed the test, it was just that, God, you spent £1 million with an idea. Well, who gave you that money? How did you persuade them? And the day after we passed the test, we had a cheap innovation, because even though we spent £1 million to do what we'd done for that kind of money, all of a sudden it was a cheap innovation. So because it was real and sellable and commercializable and all those things. So, but we definitely blundered along the way and made decisions which Josh is more regretful than me. I'm like, yeah, whatever. We still got some money in the bank. Let's go. He's like, we should have done it like that. I'm like, well, what can we do about that?
We didn't, but
you can't do anything about it. So I try to stay on the positive side of those things. But it is frustrating to know that we could have done it in a different order and probably done it for half the price.
I think it's what you take away from it, isn't it? What you kind of take into the future, and you can't go back in time. So, you just got to keep looking forward. But it sounds like you say you've ended up with a relatively cheap kind of innovation that you can start. Well, you have started making money from it.
Yeah.
So at any point did you feel like or think about walking away?
Definitely. Well, mainly, we both enjoy the job and enjoy the business and enjoy the product and enjoy everything, but money really was the kind of kicker, and actually this is quite a long time. He definitely has. I think I've had enough jobs to know that this is probably the best job I've ever had. I love working for biggies. I love working my old career, but this is the kind of autonomy you have when you can, but if you run out of money, I've definitely looked at jobs before. I've gone on to LinkedIn and other places to say, well, what's a mid-50s former journalist who worked for charities who's made a hard... what the hell would I... That might be the problem for me, is I may not be able to find another job. But then we definitely started looking around and nearly walked away several times, really predominantly because there was no money in the bank.
What kept you in it?
I think we always felt that when those moments came, we were quite close, and we'd spent a lot of our time and energy and other people's money getting it close, and it always felt like, well, come on. And we at every point where we've nearly gone away, something good has happened. The safety test being the best example of that. So I think, and as I was saying earlier on, the fact that behind all of this was this, the winds of change around how people get around towns and cities. So get into the market and the product will sell. That has always been a kind of helpful kind of motivator for us. And so it's proving, we've still got a lot more
Yeah.
work to do. And I think if we find that scale up partner, I think our product will become, or could become, let's manifest, will become
Let's do it. Yeah.
commonplace rather than just being a quirky on the edge of. So, yeah, I think we've been kept going by lots of things.
That's awesome. I'm glad you have,
Yeah.
because
Well,
it's,
thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that.
it's no, and I generally mean that, because spending time with you in Frankfurt, kind of getting to hold the product, see it, kind of, you've shown me before on the screen as well, but I'm really excited to see kind of where the journey goes, and see what the reaction is to the advert. But the
Yeah,
fact that
you'll get
adverts are one thing, but having a product that works, that's certified, that's safe, that's super useful, it, I say it will sell. It's already been selling, so
yeah.
it's exciting to see where it goes.
Well, I mean, I think we are.
Um,
So we're going to iterate. So we're going to.
yeah.
It is already a very good product of which we're very proud. It will improve because products do, right? That's something that, again, people listening to this and watching this will know that you need to improve. So we're going to improve and improve and improve and improve, or iterate and iterate. But yeah, we've got a really great launch product.
Well, yeah, and with the with the way that the mobility industry is going as well, I had interviewed Kenny Perkins from Osmo helmets as well. I don't know if you met him while you're out there. He's making e-bike helmets for children. And some of the challenges around testing obviously been a big one. Like designing a safety product for a child who's likely to drop it on the floor, and but ultimately wants to wear it, and kind of grows with the kid. This it's just the way the space changed. Well, that they're designed for kids who aren't riding bikes but are passengers in cargo bikes.
Yeah,
And
for
then
sure. Yeah, yeah, interesting.
so there's all sorts of opportunities to innovate for people like yourself and Kenny that are ambitious and have got the appetite for it. So yes, it's really exciting. So rather than talking about what I'm excited for yourself and Newlane, what are you excited for? What's next kind of innovation and stuff? But what do the next 12 to 18 months look like?
I mean, I think that as I've been sort of dropping in throughout the conversation is this partnership idea, because I think we are doing brilliantly. We're doing well. We're doing really well. We've executed on most of the things we hoped we would execute on. I think, to make this a scalable product, there are 4 people in my business, plus the contract manufacturers and marketing agencies and stuff. So, but 4 people on the payroll essentially, and then people around. So we're small, obviously. The only way that we will grow is by partnering with, and that can take lots of forms, with a joint venture with a bigger business, and Brompton's been talked about, and who knows. We certainly know them and know their top team very well, and all the rest of it. But some form of collaboration, and that can take on many forms. We're speaking to a big manufacturer in Southern Europe called Polysport, who make lots of stuff for the cycling industry. They have an interest in our product and recognise it. So I think, really, in the next year or two, we would like to be working hand in hand, as long as the commercial sort of terms are appropriate, with a bigger player who can do what they already do with our product and get it into more people's, into more people's hands and on more people's heads. So that's kind of, for me, that's the biggest deal. I mean, we do have to keep selling, which we can do as we are, and I hope we'll get into 5 figures by the end of this year. That's certainly our expectation. We're introducing the MIPS version, which again I talked about earlier on. That is, I think, going to be a great opportunity for us. A lot of people need and want a MIPS product, and there is also, from a product development point of view, scope to develop into other verticals, because we own the patents for all helmets. UK patent which is also in the 10 key cycling markets and in North America. So the flip clip system, which means you raise the ground and invert it and drop it into the rim, can be used in all other helmets, and cycling helmets is only somewhere near 10% of the global helmet market across all other verticals, skiing, mountaineering, military, etc. So with the right partner, or with a different partner, we sell the cycling product at bigger volumes, and we work with other helmet specialists and development specialists to create a version which could be used in other verticals. I mean, those are all those are the dreams, outcomes, and it may also be, Chris, and this is, I can't pretend otherwise, as within a year or 2 or 3, someone decides to try and buy our business because they see that what we've done is great and they could take it to the next level. So that's always a possibility, and people often start businesses so that they can exit and do something else. I'm not a young man anymore. I'm certainly not old, but I'm not young. I think about that kind of stuff. We'll see, I guess, but I think it's getting in front of people, keeping the product selling, keeping the product moving along, developing different color or whatever, different sizes and stuff, but also having conversations with anybody at Mobby Futures and other places like that, where they might go, that would complement what we've got. We're big, we do a bike, we want a helmet. Bosh, done, that kind of stuff. So there are a myriad of partnership opportunities in front of us. We just have to.
It's exciting, and it's refreshing how candid and open you are about that as well, because it's you've got lots of different routes that you could go, and it just sounds like you're going to enjoy the ride, whichever path it takes.
I really hope so. I mean, I wouldn't mind paying myself a bit more as well at some point, but that's probably I'm allowed to say that because I think I'm the lowest paid of all my peers, but that's because I also have the opportunity to work in my own on my own terms. I don't work for some big business anymore. So
I'm sure that I'm probably butchering the quote, but money doesn't make you rich, does it? It's
that's good. No, I don't think it does. Well, I mean, exactly. No, it's true. I think I sort of recognise that we've created value. It feels to me like we have, and I have to hold on to that. So you've got a set of production tools which can make the product. You've got a certification which allows you to sell the product. You've got a brand which is beginning to appeal to people and which we're pushing out there, and we've got sales. And we've got the patents and stuff. If you wrap a bow around that, there's value. People use the product, people like the product, people say they like the product without too much prompting from us. That feels like a valuable thing. But
I'd say so, yeah. That that convenience factor, that kind of experience that you changing someone's day. Don't feel too grand about it, but you are. It's and you're making them safe while they get to work or go wherever they're going as well.
There are a whole lot of stories around people who
that's awesome
have accidents on bikes and they didn't have a helmet, they would have a problem. But
Well, any books or podcasts that you'd recommend to people interested in either product development, innovation, or really storytelling?
I mean, I listen to podcasts probably too much, but How I Built This by Guy Raz, you'll find it on Apple Podcasts or anywhere else, I'm sure. I found that really inspirational to start with. And he was talking to business owners of all kinds, not just hardware startups, but everything happening. Their stories are so brilliant. I have found that inspirational. There's another podcast I've started listening to recently, which is an English guy called Alan Smith. It's called The Bulletproof Entrepreneur. And again, it's that whole thing about resilience. Those are the two that I currently listen to. I mean, there's a couple of American guys called Startup Therapy, it's called. There again, and they're two guys who've exited businesses, and they're very good. I think I have over the years used them as an inspiration, but also as a kind of a crutch to ensure that what we have gone through in the ups and downs, to understand that it's not just us. The journey we're on is a relatively common one. Even if the specifics of our product are different, the fact that it takes a long time and it's hard to raise money, and your wife gets cross because you haven't got any income and stuff. That's just a deal. That's just a deal, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
I do listen to and seek out reassurance from podcasts. I also read some books, but I tend to listen more than. I'm an audiobook man rather than a reader. Although I've got loads of books in my bed, some of which I've dipped into. But the podcast, How I Built This is kind of what kept me going for 3 years.
Yeah,
and it's there's loads of big and small businesses on there. That kind of help. Yeah,
I think it's validating, isn't it, to hear, and that's why I always enjoy asking people in a cathartic way, where it went wrong. Let's talk about the downs as well as the ups. Yes. Because people can resonate with that, and hopefully it helps people go.
Yeah, well, to pretend that things don't go wrong is ridiculous. So you've got to present a kind of common sense face to the world. Otherwise, who's
Yeah.
going to believe in you or your product or invest in you or your product? But you've also got to accept that failure is it's essential to this whole thing. We failed
Yeah.
so many failed tests, literally failed. So
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah, but it's the journey, isn't it? The failure is part of the journey.
It is. It definitely is.
Yeah, awesome. Well, we're in danger of kind of straying into a completely different kind of
Yes.
podcast there if we start talking about kind of philosophy and stuff. But Dom, it's been an absolute pleasure
Great.
chatting with you, going through your story. Thank you again for spending the time with me. I really appreciate it. And
Really enjoyed it. And good luck with the podcast. And I look forward to hearing the episode. Thank you, Chris.
Yeah. Well, I'd say now good luck with the advert. By the time this comes out, it'll be out there. So yeah, looking forward to it. All right. Thanks for listening to Why Design. If this episode gave you some new ideas, share it with someone in your team who'd find it useful. And follow the show so you don't miss what's next. And if you're building a product team or looking for your next challenge in design or engineering, that's exactly what we do at Kodu. We help companies hire smarter and faster and help great talent find work that actually fits. I'm Chris White. Connect with me on LinkedIn and let's keep raising the bar for design leadership. Until next time, stay curious, stay creative, and keep asking, why design?